I found an article today that said, here's why Army helicopters have Native American names. Did you ever wonder about that? The Black Hawk, the Apache, the Comanche, the Lakota. So just like the article says here, I was wondering, like, what is the deal? Or maybe I wasn't wondering. Maybe it never even occurred to me to wonder why the Army's helicopters were all named, or these, military helicopters were all named after Native American tribes. So it turns out it's from an Army regulation. So I saw this and I just thought I would share with you guys. I'm just going to go through the article here. An Army press release posted Wednesday explained the backstory of the U.S. military's long history with Native Americans and specifically the American Indian Wars. But Native Americans also served as some of the fiercest fighters for the United States for more than 200 years, right? So you guys know about the Navajo Code Talkers, the Wind Talkers. Have you guys ever seen that movie, The Wind Talkers? Apache, Chinook. So, in fact, 32 Native Americans have earned the Medal of Honor in the military, which is amazing. I think a lot of that was probably from, probably World War II. So the tradition originated from Army General Hamilton Howze. How's it going? Who was tasked with the job to develop doctrine and the way forward when it came to employing Army aircraft. After the Air Force split from the Army in 1947, the Army release said, came to employ Army. Yep. So the original names for the two helicopters were Hoverfly and Dragonfly. Could you imagine being deployed and you get a call on the radio, Hoverfly on station, Hoverfly is ready to provide some support? Wouldn't that be like the worst? How confident would you feel? Let me know in the comments, how confident would you feel if the Hoverfly was there to drop some support for you? And the Dragonfly is not much more impressive. So Howze didn't like that. I agree. Good call. He decided the next helicopter would be called the Sioux in honor of the Native Americans who fought Army soldiers in the Sioux Wars and defeated the 7th Cav at the Battle of Little Bighorn. And from that decision, years later, in 1969, Army Regulation 70-28 was born. Here's a Black Hawk. And 70-28 required that Army aircraft had to be named after Indian terms and names of American Indian tribes and chiefs. And it also directed that tanks would be named after American generals, infantry weapons would receive names for famous early American pioneers, and assault weapons would have fearsome reptile and insect names. And it does say that the regulation has been rescinded, but the tradition had been set. So in 2008, a press release further explained the process behind deciding on a name for an Army helicopter, saying that before the service could use the name Lakota, the Lakota tribe was consulted for permission. I think that's certainly fair. Isn't that what all the drama was about recently with like the sports teams having to go through and unname their teams after Native American tribes and portraying Native American stereotypes in maybe an offensive way? But I don't think that's what the Army was doing here. I think it looks like it all was out of respect for the fierce Native American warriors who not only fought for their land in a pretty insane and brutal war, but also then fought for America overseas, which is just crazy. America has a long history of people from other countries who are immigrants, or Native Americans are obviously not immigrants, they're native to the land, who then fought on behalf of America. How crazy is that? Including slaves. Slaves fought for America in the Civil War and beyond. So, and in the American Revolution, frankly. So, the Bureau of Indian Affairs advised Stephen Hart, a light utility helicopter maintenance manager, that the Army had to contact and obtain approval from a majority of the council members making up the Sioux Nation, of which the Lakotas are a part. And I guess the Army did do that within 6 months. The Lakotas were known as a peaceful, non-aggressive people, and the helicopter is a non-arms-bearing helicopter that performs medical and casualty evacs, provides disaster relief, aids in homeland defense, and also works to counter drugs and narcotics. So in February, Rosebud Sioux tribal leaders joined the Army for a ceremony at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, to celebrate the new helicopter. Rodney Bordeaux, the Rosebud Sioux Tribal Council president, said at the ceremony it was a great honor to have our name out there now where people can see it. So if you were ever wondering why Army helicopters are named after Native American tribes, there's your answer. And I hope that was informative to you, because it was informative to me.